my timing is amazing. Since I had bought it for at least twice as much as it should have been bought for. But some things are priceless, and so whether I lose money or not, that is a secondary issue compared to ensuring the strength of democracy, and free speech is the bedrock of a functioning democracy.
Yes.
Jon Stewart skewered Elon Musk in a segment on his weekly show podcast discussing the self-proclaimed free speech absolutist's complete lack of introspection and basic human morality.
Look, Elon Musk said, and I asked him about this once, he said, I'm a free speech absolutist. So I said to him, so how do you support Donald Trump, who clearly has said he wants to censor content he disagrees with? He threatens to throw Mark Zuckerberg in jail. And he said to me flat out, oh, that's just bluster. But now you see they're weaponizing that censorship for FCC approval and all kinds of other things. Is he just utterly full of shit? I mean, he himself has said, those people are treasonous and should be thrown in jail for saying things he disagrees with. So he's just utterly full of shit.
Yeah, this is a man who, when he took over Twitter, he started banning journalists because they put their Instagram bio in their like Twitter bio. You know, he rewrote an algorithm to privilege his own speech over that of others. He banned people from Twitter for publishing the whereabouts of his private jet. Like, the list goes on and on. The guy has never cared about free speech except insofar as that benefits him.
His own speech.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to understand the word censorship not as something that free speech activists on the web have cared about this for a very, very long time, right? I mean, we saw the freedom of speech, not freedom of reach thing that sits on top of his content moderation policy was something Asa Raskin and I came up with in 2018, right? That argument that you should be able to maximize content. You should want as much to stay up as possible. And then at that point, you think about, like, how do you decide what to curate? How do you decide what to preferentially amplify? When you have a crisis like COVID, it is not bad for a platform to decide, hey, maybe we should, in response to search queries, have a little knowledge panel up at the top that returns something from the CDC, right? Because people are looking for accurate information. They made perfectly reasonable decisions to uprank stuff. Did they take too much down? Yes, you can make the argument that they absolutely did.
No, I think that's fair. I think they did. I mean, and I think they would even maybe cop to that now.
I think that they would say that too. Again, when you get to certain types of content moderation policies, like the lab leak hypothesis that became, such a thing, I thought that was a stupid policy.
Oh, I know. I
thought that was a very dumb policy. But I also want to say, because I think people don't realize it, that was a Meta-only policy. Twitter didn't do that. YouTube didn't do that. Only Meta had that policy, and they had it for 3 months, right? So it sounds like a thing that was, in place for 2 years, and it actually wasn't. So when you actually look at, and I encourage anybody to do this, because the one thing is the policy documents are there. You can go look at them, right there. That aspect of the transparency thing is there. What you see from Elon, though, is that he borrows the moral weight of the word censorship while emptying it of moral content.
Bars. Bars. Come on. Renee.
It's just,
lay it down. That's exactly right.
George Slopadopoulous had to pay $16 million to me because of what he said. And that's ABC. You had to pay more than that. Your network had to pay more than that. So I think it's very sad. But I think that reporting has to be at least accurate to an extent. Again, when somebody is given 97% of the stories are bad about a person, that's no longer free speech. That's no longer anything. That's just cheating. And they cheat. And they become really members of the Democrat National Committee. That's what they are.
Those comments by Pam Bondi today and J.D. Vance and others, particularly Pam Bondi, I've seen them sort of reverberate around the Capitol. And I've seen some mixed reaction. And there's been some reporting in the New York Times and Semaphore of Republicans saying, well, wait a second. Maybe we're not on board with this. What is your reaction to the words coming from Bondi, Miller, and Vance, and how seriously to take this as essentially a concerted effort to suppress political dissent, normal political speech?
Look, Donald Trump said very early on that he wants to go after his political opponents, crush free speech, and use the full power of the state to try to stop those people that criticize him. And so in this moment where political violence is on the rise, and this is very serious, instead of actually trying to quell political violence, you see Donald Trump sending out Bondi and Vance to start going after magazines, independent press, independent foundations. Instead of actually trying to address the crisis of political violence, they're trying to weaponize this crisis in order to crush free speech. And as we've seen throughout all of Trump's first term, when people say, no, he doesn't really mean that, that's not really going to happen, we see that they go ahead and do it, and do even worse than we imagine. So we have to take this very seriously and make sure that the American people know about and hear about these attacks on free speech, because it's telling that Vance and others are trying to lie about what they're trying to do, because the vast majority of the American people do not support the full weight of the states being used to crush people's peaceful free speech.
Jon Stewart is absolutely right. Elon Musk is full of shit. And so are all the people supporting Trump while talking about being on some sort of moral crusade. Donald Trump's entire existence is antithetical to the very concept of justice, peace, or fairness. Anybody talking about wanting America to be a meritocracy needs to take a long, hard look at this administration's actual credentials. What we're seeing in this administration is what happens when billionaire hegemony takes an entire country utterly hostage. The women all look the same, the men all sound the same, and they are exclusively interested in looking after their fellow billionaires. This administration barely looks human. The CEOs of the companies that are funding this administration barely look or act human. And increasingly, AI is stripping the humanity from the entire government apparatus. AI is being used and then blamed for drone strikes in Iran with seemingly zero actual human accountability, and there's no recognition of how dystopian and monstrous all of that actually is. The New York Times reports that a preliminary U.S. probe suggests a fatal mix of outdated intelligence and potential AI errors, seemingly involving Palantir's Maven smart system. That's what led, apparently, to the strike that killed 168 people, including over 100 school children at that elementary school in Iran.